Far beneath the sunlit waves, beyond the reach of our everyday experience, lies a world of profound mystery and darkness. This is the deep sea, a realm that covers more than half of our planet's surface, yet we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about these hidden depths. For centuries, it has remained a place of myth and speculation, a silent, cold world believed to be largely devoid of life. But now, driven by our insatiable demand for resources, humanity is turning its gaze downwards. A new kind of industrial revolution is poised to begin, not in factories or on land, but in the last great wilderness on Earth. This is the era of deep-sea mining, a venture promising immense wealth but threatening unparalleled destruction. This new gold rush is unlike any that has come before. It is not for the gleaming yellow metal that has captivated civilizations for millennia, but for the essential components of our modern technological world. The metals and minerals that power our smartphones, our electric cars, and our green energy solutions are becoming scarcer on land. So, industry is preparing to deploy colossal machines, robotic harvesters that will crawl across the ocean floor, scraping and digging in a world that has remained undisturbed for millions of years. This quest for progress comes with a tremendous and largely uncalculated risk, a gamble with an ecosystem we are only just beginning to comprehend, a world of extraordinary creatures and delicate balances. The deep ocean has always been a part of our shared human imagination, a source of wonder and fear. It is the setting for ancient legends of sea monsters and lost cities, a symbol of the vast, unknowable power of nature. Yet the reality is even more fantastic than the myth. It is a world of crushing pressure, perpetual darkness, and freezing temperatures, conditions so extreme that we once thought life was impossible. But life, in its remarkable tenacity, has found a way. Now, this unique and fragile world faces a threat it has never encountered before: the relentless advance of human industry, poised to scar the seabed in pursuit of profit. We stand at a critical crossroads in our relationship with the ocean. The decisions we make in the coming years will determine the fate of this vast, hidden realm. Will we proceed with caution, embracing the precautionary principle and prioritizing scientific understanding before industrial exploitation? Or will we rush forward, lured by the promise of mineral wealth, and risk inflicting irreversible damage on the largest and least understood habitat on our planet? The story of deep-sea mining is not just about technology and economics. It is a profound moral question about our responsibility as stewards of the Earth and its most secret and spectacular wonders. To understand the stakes of deep-sea mining, we must first journey to the environment it seeks to exploit. The deep sea begins where the sunlight fades, typically around 200 meters below the surface. Below this point lies the twilight zone, and further down, the midnight zone, a world of absolute and eternal darkness. The pressure here is immense, increasing with every meter of descent. It can reach levels hundreds of times greater than at the surface, enough to crush a military submarine as if it were a tin can. The water is perpetually cold, hovering just above freezing. For a very long time, these conditions led us to believe it was a desolate, empty void, a barren desert at the bottom of the world. How wrong we were! In this seemingly hostile environment, life has adapted in the most extraordinary and unexpected ways. Creatures here have evolved to thrive without sunlight, the basis of most life on Earth. Instead of photosynthesis, some ecosystems are built around chemosynthesis, where microbes draw energy from chemical reactions, often from volcanic vents gushing superheated, mineral-rich water. Around these hydrothermal vents, oases of life flourish. Giant tube worms, some several meters long, with vibrant red plumes, have no mouth or gut, relying instead on symbiotic bacteria to survive. Blind white crabs and ghostly fish navigate a landscape that would be utterly alien to us. Elsewhere, on the vast abyssal plains, life is slower, more patient. These plains are covered in a thick layer of fine sediment, known as marine snow, which is composed of the organic remains of creatures from the sunlit waters above, slowly drifting down over centuries. This gentle rain of nutrients sustains a different cast of characters. The ghostly Dumbo octopus drifts elegantly with its ear-like fins. Strange, stalked sea lilies filter the water for food, looking more like ancient plants than animals. Many creatures here are bioluminescent, producing their own light in the blackness, creating dazzling displays to attract mates, lure prey, or startle predators in a silent underwater light show. This is a world of ancient beings and slow, delicate processes. Some deep-sea corals are among the oldest living organisms on Earth, with colonies that have survived for over 4,000 years, creating complex, tree-like structures that provide a vital habitat for countless other species. Many of the fish that live here have slow metabolic rates and live for extraordinary lengths of time. The Greenland shark, for instance, can live for over 500 years. This is not a world that recovers quickly. It is a realm of great antiquity and stability, where evolution has proceeded at a glacial pace, creating a web of life that is exquisitely adapted to its environment, but profoundly vulnerable to sudden, violent change. The methods proposed for extracting minerals from the deep sea are as colossal in scale as the environment is vast. The machinery involved is unlike anything deployed on land, designed to operate under immense pressure and in total darkness, controlled remotely by operators on a ship far above. Imagine a machine the size of a combine harvester, or even larger, weighing hundreds of tons. This is a seafloor collector vehicle. These robotic crawlers are designed to move slowly across the seabed, effectively strip mining the ocean floor. They are equipped with powerful cutting heads or suction systems to gather the desired materials from the seafloor surface. There are 3 main types of deep-sea mineral deposits that companies are targeting, and each requires a slightly different approach. The first are polymetallic nodules, which are potato-sized lumps of metal and minerals that lie scattered across the abyssal plains, thousands of meters deep. To collect these, the mining vehicles would act like giant vacuum cleaners, sucking the nodules up from the sediment. This process would churn up the top layer of the seafloor, which has taken millions of years to form. The nodules, along with sediment and water, are then pumped up to the surface vessel through a massive pipe called a riser, which can be several kilometers long. Another target is the seafloor massive sulfides, which form around hydrothermal vents. These are chimney-like structures rich in copper, gold, and zinc. Mining these deposits would involve using immense robotic cutting machines, with giant rotating blades to grind down the vent structures into smaller pieces. These fragments would then be collected and piped to the surface. This method is particularly destructive because it targets the very oases of life in the deep sea, destroying the unique habitats that support entire ecosystems found nowhere else on Earth. It is the equivalent of bulldozing a vibrant coral reef to get at the limestone beneath it. Finally, there are cobalt-rich crusts, which form a hard pavement over the slopes of underwater mountains, known as seamounts. These crusts contain high concentrations of cobalt, a key component in batteries for electric vehicles and electronics. To mine these, colossal machines would be used to scrape and grind the crust directly off the rock. This process would not only destroy the crusts themselves, which take millions of years to accumulate, but also obliterate all the life attached to them, including ancient, slow-growing coral gardens that act as crucial nurseries and refuges for a vast array of deep-sea species. Each method promises a violent disruption to a world of stillness. The push towards the deep sea is fueled by a potent combination of geology and global demand. The minerals lying on and under the ocean floor represent some of the richest and most concentrated deposits on the planet. For decades, we have known they were there, but the technological challenges and costs of retrieval kept them out of reach. Now, as land-based ores become more difficult and expensive to mine, and as our technological society demands ever more of these specific materials, the deep sea has transformed from a scientific curiosity into a tantalizing economic frontier. The potential profits are staggering, estimated to be in the trillions of dollars. The primary targets are metals that are critical for the so-called green transition and our digital age. Polymetallic nodules, for instance, are particularly prized because they contain a cocktail of valuable metals in a single, easy-to-collect package. They are rich in manganese, nickel, copper, and cobalt. Nickel and cobalt are essential components of the lithium-ion batteries that power everything from our mobile phones and laptops to the electric vehicles that are seen as a key solution to combating climate change. Manganese and copper are also vital industrial metals, used in steel production, electrical wiring, and a huge range of other applications. Seafloor massive sulfides, formed at hydrothermal vents, offer a different but equally valuable prize. These deposits are incredibly rich in copper, lead, zinc, and often contain significant quantities of gold and silver. On land, the grade of copper ore has been declining for years, meaning more rock must be mined and processed to get the same amount of metal. The sulfide deposits in the deep sea, by contrast, can have concentrations of copper and other metals that are 10 times higher than a typical land-based mine. This makes them an extremely attractive target for mining companies looking to secure high-quality resources for the future. The cobalt-rich crusts on seamounts are perhaps the most direct link to our modern technological ambitions. Cobalt is a strategic mineral, and its supply is currently dominated by a small number of countries, often with associated ethical and environmental concerns about land-based mining practices. The deep-sea crusts offer a potential alternative source. Proponents of deep-sea mining argue that it could help secure the supply chain for the batteries needed for a global fleet of electric cars and for large-scale energy storage, thereby facilitating the shift away from fossil fuels. It is this argument, that we must damage the deep ocean to save the climate on land, that makes the debate so complex and contentious. The most immediate and honestly undeniable impact of deep-sea mining is the physical destruction of the seafloor habitat. The colossal machines designed for this task are not delicate instruments. They are agents of brute force. As a collector vehicle scrapes the cobalt crusts from a seamount or vacuums up polymetallic nodules from an abyssal plain, it will effectively erase everything in its path. This is not just about removing the minerals, it is about obliterating the entire landscape. The thin layer of sediment on the plains, home to countless small organisms, will be stripped away. The ancient coral gardens on seamounts, which may have taken thousands of years to grow, will be pulverized in an instant. This direct destruction of habitat results in the wholesale loss of life. For the creatures that are slow-moving or fixed to the seafloor, the sponges, the corals, the sea anemones, the tube worms, there is no escape. Their entire world is churned up and destroyed. These organisms form the very foundation of the deep-sea ecosystem, providing shelter, food, and breeding grounds for other species. When they are gone, the entire community that depends on them will collapse. Given the incredibly slow pace of life and growth in the deep sea, such destruction is not a temporary disturbance. It is, for all practical purposes, permanent on any human timescale. A coral garden erased today will not recover for many thousands of years, if ever. Beyond the path of the mining vehicle itself, there is the problem of the sediment plume. As the collector vacuums up nodules or grinds up crusts, it will kick up vast clouds of fine sediment. While some of this material is piped to the surface, a significant portion will be discharged at the seafloor, creating a dense, choking cloud that can drift for many kilometers on the slow, deep ocean currents. This sediment plume will settle over a wide area, burying organisms far from the actual mining site. For filter-feeding animals like sponges and corals, this blanket of silt is a death sentence, clogging their feeding structures and smothering them. The damage is not confined to the seabed. The mixture of nodules, sediment, and cold seawater pumped to the surface vessel must be processed. After the valuable minerals are separated, the leftover material, a slurry of sediment, rock fragments, and nutrient-rich, freezing deep water, has to be disposed of. The current plan is to pump this waste, known as a dewatering plume, back into the ocean, typically at a mid-water depth. This discharge will introduce a cloud of suspended particles into a part of the water column that is normally crystal clear, potentially harming mid-water organisms like jellyfish, squid, and fish by clogging gills and interfering with their ability to find food. It could also release toxic metals that were locked away in the seafloor sediments. The deep sea is a world defined by silence, punctuated only by the subtle sounds of life and geology. It is a realm of profound quiet, where sound travels far and many creatures have evolved to be highly sensitive to vibrations and noise to navigate, communicate, and detect predators or prey in the total darkness. The arrival of deep-sea mining will shatter this ancient tranquility. The operation of colossal collector vehicles on the seafloor, the powerful pumps driving the riser system, and the constant hum and activity of the surface support vessel will introduce a cacophony of industrial noise into an environment that has never experienced it before. This noise pollution is a profound and pervasive threat. The low-frequency sounds produced by heavy machinery can travel for hundreds, perhaps even thousands, of kilometers through the water. This could have devastating effects on marine mammals, such as whales and dolphins, which use sound for communication, navigation, and hunting. The constant industrial noise could interfere with their ability to find mates or food, drive them away from important feeding grounds, and cause chronic stress. For the mysterious and little-understood beaked whales, which are known to be exquisitely sensitive to sound, the noise from mining operations could be particularly dangerous, potentially leading to mass strandings. Alongside noise pollution, the sediment plumes create another form of pervasive harm. These clouds of suspended particles, kicked up by the mining vehicle and discharged from the surface vessel, fundamentally change the nature of the water itself. They increase turbidity, which is a measure of the water's cloudiness. This can block the faint glimmers of bioluminescence that many deep-sea creatures use to signal to one another. It is like filling a city with a perpetual thick smog, making it impossible for its inhabitants to see or communicate. This can disrupt mating rituals, predator-prey interactions, and the very social fabric of deep-sea communities. Furthermore, the waste plumes discharged from the surface vessel could have toxic effects. The deep-sea sediments and crusts that are mined contain not only the valuable metals we seek, but also a range of other elements, including heavy metals like mercury, lead, and cadmium, which can be toxic. When these sediments are brought to the surface and then discharged back into the mid-water, these metals can be released in a form that is more readily absorbed by living organisms. These toxins can then enter the food web, potentially accumulating in fish and other animals, with unknown consequences for the health of marine ecosystems, and perhaps even for the seafood that eventually reaches our plates. The potential consequences of deep-sea mining extend far beyond the immediate vicinity of the mining sites. The deep ocean is not an isolated system. It is intricately connected to the global ocean and the Earth's climate system in ways we are only just beginning to grasp. One of the most significant long-term risks involves the disruption of carbon sequestration. The deep sea is our planet's largest carbon sink. Over millennia, the organic matter from marine life, the marine snow, sinks and becomes buried in the seafloor sediments, effectively locking away carbon from the atmosphere for geological timescales. This is a vital natural process that helps to regulate our climate. Deep-sea mining threatens to disrupt this crucial planetary service. By scraping away the top layer of sediment and churning up the seabed, mining operations would resuspend this ancient carbon-rich material. Microbes in the water column could then break down this organic matter, releasing the stored carbon back into the ocean as carbon dioxide. This could, over time, decrease the ocean's capacity to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, potentially exacerbating climate change. We would be undermining a natural solution to a problem we created, in the name of finding a technological fix. It is a profound and dangerous irony. There is also the risk of triggering unforeseen and irreversible ecological tipping points. The deep ocean's ecosystems are built on foundations of immense stability and slow change. Introducing a disruption as rapid and violent as industrial-scale mining could have cascading effects throughout the food web. For example, seamounts are known to be biological hotspots, attracting a high diversity and abundance of life, including commercially important fish stocks like tuna and swordfish that come to feed. The destruction of these seamount habitats could lead to the collapse of these fisheries, with significant economic and food security implications for communities around the world. Perhaps the greatest long-term risk is our own ignorance. We are proposing to industrialize a realm about which we know astonishingly little. Every deep-sea research expedition discovers new species and new ecosystems, revealing just how much there is left to learn. To begin mining before we have a baseline understanding of what is there, how it functions, and how it is connected to the wider ocean system is a reckless gamble. We risk losing species before we have even had the chance to discover them, and destroying natural processes whose importance we do not yet appreciate. Once these ancient ecosystems are gone, they are gone forever, and we will never know the true cost of their loss. Faced with the immense risks posed by deep-sea mining, a growing chorus of voices from science, conservation, and civil society is calling for a halt. The most prominent and urgent proposal is for a global moratorium on deep-sea mining. This would not necessarily be a permanent ban, but a pause, a timeout, to allow for independent scientific research to be conducted. A moratorium would give scientists the time needed to properly map the deep sea, to understand its biodiversity, its ecological functions, and its vulnerability to disturbance. It would allow us to assess the full potential impacts of mining before any irreversible damage is done. This is the essence of the precautionary principle. When an activity raises threats of harm, we should take preventive action, even if some cause and effect relationships are not fully established scientifically. Governments and international bodies have a critical role to play. The area of the seabed beyond national jurisdiction, known as the area, is legally designated as the common heritage of mankind under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Its resources are meant to be managed for the benefit of all humanity. The International Seabed Authority, or ISA, is the organization responsible for regulating mining activities in this area. It is imperative that the ISA prioritizes the protection of the marine environment over the commercial interests of a few mining companies. This means establishing robust environmental regulations, ensuring transparent decision-making, and heeding the scientific evidence that points towards the need for extreme caution. Corporations and investors also hold significant power and responsibility. Companies in the technology and automotive sectors, which would be the end users of these deep-sea minerals, can make a powerful statement by committing not to source or finance minerals from the deep sea. Several major global brands, including car manufacturers and tech giants, have already signed up to such a pledge, sending a clear signal to the mining industry that a market for these destructively sourced materials may not exist. This market-driven approach can be a highly effective way to disincentivize the rush to mine, by reducing the potential for profit. Finally, as individuals, we all have a part to play. Public awareness is the foundation of political will. By learning about the deep sea and the threats it faces, and by sharing that knowledge with others, we can build a global movement of citizens who demand its protection. We can support the organizations that are campaigning for a moratorium, and we can make conscious choices as consumers, favoring products from companies that are committed to sustainable sourcing and a circular economy. A circular economy where we focus on recycling, reusing, and repairing the materials we already have is the ultimate solution, as it reduces the demand for new raw materials from any source, whether on land or in the deep sea. The deep ocean might seem remote, a dark and distant world that has little bearing on our lives, but that could not be further from the truth. The health of the deep sea is fundamentally linked to the health of the entire planet, and therefore to the health and future of our own species. It drives global ocean currents, which in turn regulate our climate and weather patterns. It is a vast reservoir of biodiversity, a living library of genetic information that has evolved over millions of years, which may hold the keys to future scientific and medical breakthroughs we can barely imagine today. To damage it is to damage a critical part of our planet's life support system. It is also a question of legacy. Do we want to be the generation that, in its rush for short-term technological convenience, presided over the destruction of the last untouched wilderness on Earth? Or do we want to be the generation that had the wisdom and foresight to protect it? The deep sea does not belong to any single nation or corporation. It is the common heritage of all humanity. It is a world of breathtaking wonder, populated by creatures more fantastical than any myth. It holds the secrets of the origins of life on our planet and inspires a sense of awe and humility that is essential for our own spiritual well-being. We have a unique opportunity to learn from the mistakes of the past. Throughout our history, we have often exploited natural resources with little thought for the long-term consequences, leaving a legacy of deforestation, pollution, and extinction. With the deep sea, we have a chance to do things differently. We have the knowledge to understand the potential for catastrophic damage, and we have the ability to choose a different path. We can choose to prioritize exploration over exploitation, science over profit, and long-term stewardship over short-term gain. This is a test of our maturity as a species. Ultimately, the fate of the deep sea is in our hands. Its silent, dark world is a vital part of the intricate web of life that makes our planet unique in the universe. It is a world of wonder, a world of mystery, and a world that is profoundly vulnerable. It is up to us to be its guardians, to speak for its silent creatures, and to ensure that its ancient tranquility is not shattered by the clamor of machines. For in protecting the deep sea, we are not just protecting a remote and alien environment. We are protecting a fundamental part of our world, and a fundamental part of ourselves.